Hey folks, it's Arleman. Today we're going to talk about the anatomy of a deck. Final Fantasy Mobius Final Fantasy is, at its heart, a card game. Though it takes place on a standard turn-based 3D battlefield, all of your abilities are determined by cards. So in order to get your character ready for combat, you have to build your deck. You have to select your job, select your weapon, and select your abilities. So when you start the game, you will start off as the Onion Knight. Very basic job, nothing really flashy about it. As you level up the job, however, you start unlocking new support jobs like Warrior, Knight, Dark Knight. This actually increases to unlock Samurai, Dragoon, Paladin, Berserker. The only difference is, however, while you can unlock these support jobs under the main job, it does not give you access to all of their best abilities. So here we have a Knight, we have the Dark Knight, we have the Samurai, we've got the Dragoon. So those people that are free to play know that you do have options as far as jobs. With the card summon, you have the potential to gain jobs on their own that are not necessarily, like for example, while you can learn to be a knight with that, you can learn to be a knight by itself, and which comes with its own set of enhancements. And you have to think of the starter jobs as kind of like the basic of the basic. If you manage to get a specified job from the card summon, you can then specialize that job into further. So, example, the Onion Knight allowed you to use the Knight as a support job. However, if you manage to get a hold of the Knight, you can upgrade into the Royal Guard. Also, for other jobs, you can roll what's called legendary jobs. Legendary jobs are basically jobs that are not classic Final Fantasy job types like Black Mage or Monk or Paladin or things like that. They are specific, like for example, Soldier First Class, which many of you will recognize as Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. The cool thing with these, you can actually also unlock their game-specific weapons. Like for example, we have a Buster Sword. Alright, we have the Balan Mercenary, which is, for all intents and purposes, Squall, Gunblade included. So, what makes legendary jobs legendary is that not only are they special and unique, they are also significantly stronger than the standard jobs, but the chances of rolling a legendary job is very low. So we're going to go back to, let's see, where is Onion Knight? Okay, so when you select your job, you select the weapon that you want. I'm just going to do the basic stuff here. Okay, you have four cards or 4 abilities that you can use. These are elemental based. As you can see here, each job has certain elements that they can utilize. Alright, each job is different. So you see here, Onion Knight can use fire, water, and light. If you switch to Dark Knight is fire, water, and wind. Okay, so you have to take that into consideration when you're going into combat, because the elements that you have access to not only affects the abilities that you can use, but it can also affect what you can defend against. So having a fire element access not only allows you to use fire elements, but it can actually allow you to defend against fire attacks. So we're going to go ahead and choose cards. Well, let's do something more interesting. Where's my baby? Kain. This is one of the new legendary jobs that came out. Kain Highwind, that is correct. Where's his lance? Alright. So now we need to select his sub-job. Now this is, and of course this actually changes his skin. This is his base job. And as you can see, his base job uses fire, water, and earth. But as you unlock more jobs, you can eventually use light, dark, and earth. So we're going to use that. We've already selected our weapon. And of course, if you look at each weapon, they have varying stats as well. So take that into consideration if you have multiple weapons and you're trying to figure out what to use. Alright, next item I'm going to draw your attention to is the job icon. You'll see here the sword on the bottom of the job card. This indicates that he is a warrior type card. Okay. There are other symbols next to the cards, and these correspond to the abilities that they can use. The cane is indicative of caster type. The 3 claw marks is a monk. Okay, that's the monk type. And the 2 daggers are essentially ranger / rogue type. Those are the 4 kinds of classifications that cards come in, at least individual cards. Now, it's not to say that you can't equip cards of other affinities. Like, for example, I can put, a fire magic spell on this because it is not fire magic. I can put an earth magic, light magic, or dark magic on this character. However, because it's magic, not a weapon skill, this is a warrior class, so those abilities aren't really going to work. You're not going to see their full potential. So to illustrate, alright, so we can use light. So as you see here, we have some light abilities. We're going to use Noctis, and we're going to choose a light spell, the Ultima. And you see here how the sword icon is glowing. That means that the card is not only appropriate for the class, but will receive the full bonus of all of its statistics. As you see here, the cane is not glowing because this is not a caster. So this spell, while it can be utilized, is not going to take advantage of all of your stats. You can still use it, and there are situations where there are abilities that are not native to the job that you're playing that still have useful effects that can be beneficial to your deck. So we've picked our light. Let's go ahead and pick our dark. Let's go for the ultimate supreme cards here. Alright, and we need to pick an earth. So thankfully I've got a pretty good setup for him. Alright, so we have an element that covers each one of these, and look, we have an open slot. So generally you can use this for whatever you want, and realize that you are not limited to having to have one card for every element that you can use. If you want to stack your deck with all light abilities, dark abilities, you can tailor it however you want, but this is how you utilize. Now, for example, let's say, just to show you what happens if you try to put a card in that is not of an element that you can use. So let's see fire. As you see, these all have the caution sign. Doesn't mean that you can't equip it, but when you're in combat you will not be able to use it because you do not generate fire orbs. Alright, so generally I recommend that the last slot be taken up by a support card. Support cards are marked with the heart icon. These are heart orbs, or life orbs, and these are things that are useful that allow you to do things like heal, buff, things like that. So, alright, I just got haste. Here, let's see. Oh, no, let's use haste. So this is what I would call a fairly balanced deck. You have an attack for you have an attack for each one of your elements. Since this job can use light and dark, it can protect against light attacks, it can protect against dark attacks. It is strong against dark creatures, it is strong against light creatures. Okay? So those cards are selected. You have your skill seeds, and what skill seeds are, each card has a specific skill seed list. Alright, so this is a light card, so all it does is generate light skill seeds. This is a dark card, so all it's going to generate are dark skill seeds. This is an earth, so this is actually going to generate... yeah, it's just earth. I haven't leveled it up all the way, but This is kind of light on skill seeds because it's still just a rank 4. And life cards are kind of split up. This is all win, but you have some cards that have more than one element. But this is where you see basically what your current deck can generate. After combat, you get a multiplier that is multiplied against these numbers and spits out a certain amount of skill seeds based on your performance in the fight. And what you use skill seeds for is you use them to unlock abilities. Now, as you can see here, I've already unlocked all 8 panels of this job, but these would be things like increasing this job's attack, hit points, unlocking new weapons, extending your break gauge, things like that. So as you play, when you gain experience points go into leveling up the individual cards. Those individual card levels are what determines your current deck level, and this affects things like your total HP and attack. Because if you see here, if I take out this card, it drops my level and it drops my stats. So just realize that your support, if I put something in stronger, okay, it'll raise the stats even higher. So remember that the level of your cards determine your actual job deck level. Now your job actually has a level as well, but that's a discussion for another time. That's overboost. But for right now, just think of your cards determining your level of your job. Okay? And when combat, when you get skill seeds, you use those skill seeds to unlock panels to increase the strength and abilities of the job that you have. Okay, with that said, we're going to go ahead and into combat. This is set as a main deck. As you play through the game, you will have the option to set a sub-deck, but that's more advanced theory crafting for the job. So for right now, we're just going to deal with main deck. Alright. So I think I'm actually going to change the deck around a little bit, because it's not always often that we run into light and dark fights. So we're going to change this. We're going to set fire. Water. And we already have earth set. Okay. It's easier to show the relationship of elements if you're fighting things that are the corresponding elements. Okay, so when you start a fight in the game, it'll tell you how many stamina it's going to cost for the battle, how many battles are in this turn. It will take from your stamina bar if it does cost stamina, the difficulty level. Here's where it would show you the skill seed modifier. Alright, these fights don't give us skill seeds, but this is just for practice. It'll tell you the elements of your deck and your level. Alright, go on in. Okay, so we are now fighting an enemy. This is the combat screen. What all of this stuff means, up here you have your combat score. Your combat score is important because this will determine the your multiplier for your experience points, your gil, your skill seeds. Not to mention it goes into your weekly ranking score. Every week the game tallies everyone's score, and the higher you are up on leaderboards, the better prizes you get. The battle ratio tells you that we're in battle 1 of a total of 4 fights. This is our elemental bar. This is kind of an advanced character class, so he starts with a full bar of stuff, of the elements that correspond with the abilities that I can use. Down here is the job change wheel. When you unlock the sub deck, it allows you to switch jobs mid-combat, but for this to be enabled, I have to be this job for a total of 3 turns before I can actually change jobs to whatever I have my support job set as. If you hit the help menu, it'll actually explain to you how the elements relate to one another. So as you can see here, fire and water are both strong and weak against each other. Fire is used against water. Water can be used against fire. Wind can be used against earth. Earth can be used against wind. Light against dark. Okay? So we have a cockatrice here, and it is a wind creature. I cannot generate wind orbs. It's not, so I can't protect myself against it. If I had, you would be able to click on here, this is the elemental wheel, and you would select the element that you can protect yourself against. But we won't need that. Alright, and since we have enough orbs, as you use abilities, orbs are consumed. As you use regular melee attacks to hit the enemy, you will have more orbs generate. So as you can see, this is a wind enemy, so we're going to use slow it down so you can see it. So if we use Earth Fury, wind is weak to earth, so you'll see it'll say weakness, and you'll see the yellow bar, which is the break bar, go down all the way, and it will apply a debuff to the character. Now that the yellow bar is down, we can use auto attacks to deplete it. When the yellow and red gauge are done, the enemy enters what's called a break phase, and this is basically a stagger. The enemy is not able to move for a total of 7 turns. That means I get 7 attacks of opportunity to kill this enemy. Alright? Now, I don't have any, as you see here, I don't have any more earth, but I do have fire and I have water. And neither one of them are wind, so they won't heal it. So I'm just going to keep hitting it. Turn the speed up a little bit, simply because it moves very slowly otherwise. Okay, so we have an earth creature here. This is an Adamantoise. I don't have wind, which would be what I would use to attack. However, I do have earth, and what earth allows me to do is, if I draw earth, it will actually protect me from earth-based attacks. That also includes those regular attacks. So I'm going to go ahead and just clear some of these orbs out of the way because I want to illustrate something. As you can see, the number next to the status resist is based on how many orbs you pull from this bar. So I pulled 4 water orbs, which means I'm protected from water attacks for 4 turns. Pulled 3 earth orbs, so I'm protected for 3 turns. And 2 fire, so 2 turns. Alright. So we're going to let him attack. Now remember, we have the earth resistance. You'll see here it says resisted. Alright. We're going to use that again to protect ourselves. Alright. And we'll just use some fire so we can get his bar down. You see the yellow bar goes away, leaving the red, which makes it highly susceptible to physical attacks. Alright, we've entered a break stage. Now we have an opportunity to use our limit break, or our ultimate. I'm going to put this in normal so you can see the animation. Alright, we have a warrior, we have life cards, so warrior trance is a buff card. As you can see, it gives me ability ignition, attack ignition, and gives me lucid war. All of my stats are enhanced. And now I'm going to use Daedalus Dive. I love that attack because it fills up my orb bar and it gives us what's called prismatic orbs. Prismatic orbs are orbs that can be used for any element. Doesn't matter. And the cool thing is that this also includes using elements that are not native to your deck. So let's just say I rented like a light or a dark card, even though this designation of Highwind can't use it, I'd be able to use it now because of my prismatic shift. So we have wind again, we have earth again. However, you have to understand that as far as prismatic orbs are concerned, if I draw earth, it will consider one of these orb earth and it will pull all of them. So we're not going to do that. We're going to attack him a little bit. We're going to get rid of that orange bar. Okay. And I'm just going to pop him some. He's down. fire. We still have one prismatic orb, so I couldn't go ahead and use that as a faux fire. We'll generate some orbs here. Now, as you see here, this is the orange break bar. I'm actually able to do damage to it. The best way to think of this is that your green bar is your health, is the enemy's health. The orange bar / yellow bar is the armor of the enemy. If you break the armor, then the amount of any damage you do is going to be multiplied. Alright, so you're going to use Punishing Ice, which is going to take away, not only is it weakness, but it'll also take away its bar. He's going to be switching his element. That was not resisted because I do not have water. He's now water, so fire is going to be effective, but first, I'm going to break it. Alright, so we have 7 turns. This is how many normal turns you would have in a turn. If an enemy is broken, this is the number you look at for how many times you can go. If not, this is the number you can see. He's dead. Okay, so I'm going to show you, we're going to do something a little bit more advanced, so I can kind of show you what some of the real like endgame stuff looks like. Some of the stronger cards available. Now it doesn't, you don't necessarily have to stick to the elements in your deck. I mean, it's helpful, it makes things, it gives you a lot more options, but it is not, it's not set in stone. So we have wind. It's broken. Adamantoise. Protect. There's our bar. Prismatic shift. Okay, so hopefully you guys found this video informative. There is still a lot of details to learn about which cards, the roles of different cards, and I'll go over that in another video. I hope this has been informative. If you guys have any questions, comments, or critique, leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching.